To hear more of that piece and 9 other selections from Radio 3 presenters, search on BBC Sounds for a special New Year, New Music edition of Here and Now. Now, this year, Making Music's Adopt a Composer scheme has paired 7 composers with 7 amateur performing groups around the country. The composer gets to work with the group over the course of a year to create a piece of music that is given its premiere performance by the ensemble and broadcast here on Radio 3. Composer Ben C. was paired with Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra, and because he's a nice guy, he also wrote a piece for the Stoneleigh Youth Training Orchestra as well. So you'll hear both pieces tonight, starting with the Training Orchestra in Ben C.'s We Want, followed by the Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra in Fingerprintplurals. We at Radio 3 recorded the orchestras premiering the new works last month in concert at Hammersmith Town Hall here in London. But before you hear the music, first let's meet the composer and the orchestras.
Hello, my name's Ben, and I've just been paired with the Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra for the Adopt a Composer programme. It's been an amazing experience and lots of good fun, and a very steep learning curve for me. Well, there's nearly 200 people between both orchestras, and there are 2 different orchestras. So there's the Training Orchestra, who are the younger players, and then the main orchestra, who go up to 18, end of 6th form. It was decided that I would be working with both groups, which was great because it meant that I got to meet some of the younger players and learn a bit from them, and then take some of those skills to the older players as well. I tried to keep it as collaborative as possible. I think particularly because I was working with young people, I really wanted them to feel involved in the process and see kind of how the composition process might work, because lots of them are budding young composers as well. So it's kind of important to me that they felt involved and like it was a piece for them as well as by me. I've been lucky enough to write 2 pieces for Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra. The first piece is for their Training Orchestra, and it's a piece called We Want. And the piece evolves around biscuits and standing up for what you want to say. So the whole piece was inspired really by the first time I met the Training Orchestra, when I asked them what they wanted to get out of the collaboration, and one little girl immediately replied with "We want to be heard," which then became the starting point for the piece. And they also declare their love for biscuits, and the piece finishes with all of them eating biscuits and humming along to the refrain which the piece opens with. First workshop was with the Training Orchestra, so the really young players, and my background is in singing, so I really love words and text, and that's always my starting point really. So I went along with some pens and paper, and we together wrote some little phrases, and in the end we settled on some descriptive words. And then as part of the workshop we turned those words into shapes on the page, little pictures, and then we turned those pictures into small little melodies, which we then looped round and started building some harmony on top of. And yeah, they were all kind of chucking in their own ideas, so lots of the little riffs and motifs in the final piece are actually all based on those tiny melodies they came up with originally, and it was really good fun. It was amazing actually. They're so kind of plucky, you know, because they're so young, they just throw themselves at it. It was really enlightening actually to see how their minds work and how creative they are in so many different ways. You know, the music started going in loads of directions that I would never have instigated myself, so it was really nice to kind of learn from them and yeah, see how their process works.
My name is Paloma, I'm 10 and I play violin. Well, I think it's good because it's about people's feelings and what they feel inside. Well, you can show your emotions for other pieces, but this really gets deep down. I thought it was amazing that he got everyone's ideas and that he didn't just think of something up for everyone. He asked everyone what their opinion was, and he took everyone's ideas and just made it into one big piece.
My second piece for Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra is for the main orchestra, which is the bigger group and the older group, so there's just over 100 of them. And this piece is called Fingerprintplurals, and it takes all of its main themes from the piece I wrote for the Training Orchestra, so it's very much the kind of bigger sibling to that piece. It's about identity really, and it kind of challenges the players to put their own stamp on all of the material. So there are lots of elements of improvisation and kind of playing around with some of the themes developed by the training orchestra. And they have to kind of make decisions throughout the piece. So there are elements where individual players have to choose which notes to play, choose their own rhythms, lots of kind of ornamental stuff. And then the bulkier bits are kind of collective decisions about which instrument should play at which point and kind of stylistic things. My workshop with the main orchestra, we took some of those phrases that we'd written with the training orchestra, and I kind of wanted them to put their own mark on it. So I put the training orchestra phrases in the middle of a page, and then around the outside I put a kind of series of very loosely scored material or ideas which could go alongside that main riff in the middle. So we started by playing through some of those riffs and then trying to add some little bits alongside. And again, there's lots of improvisation involved. So there's a whole section called Make a Band, where the players have to decide amongst themselves who's going to be in the band, and the score is just chords and a melody, and they have to kind of realise it as they want.
My name is Robert Hodge, and I'm the musical director of Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra. It's been really interesting. The students in the orchestra have interacted with Ben much more than I would have imagined. We've been looking after Ben now for over a year. He's been meeting with them, discussing ideas before we started writing the piece, and lots of those ideas went into the work. Ben's piece, which is called Fingerprintplurals, basically is that. It's supposed to show the individual aspect of each member of the orchestra. I think they're being asked to do an awful lot of things that they normally wouldn't. There's also a fantastic passage at the end, which you won't be able to hear, that there's a mystery beat in which the lights in the venue are going to be turned off. And from then onwards, the orchestra have memorised the rest of the piece of music. There are passages where they individually have to stand up and shout out a word to the audience which means something personal to them, and by the end of the performance everybody's standing sort of staring at the audience in darkness, so it's going to be really effective, I think.
I'm Ennie. I play cello and bass guitar for the piece at the moment, and I've been in the orchestra for 9 years now. It's interesting, like, because you don't usually, obviously with all the other pieces that you get, it's sort of like you get the music, you play it, and then it's sort of like based on like whatever's like been written in the score, that's just what you go off. But it's nice to like actually like be able to talk with you, and then like be able to like actually like not change the piece, but then like have it still fit to like how the orchestra is, because like obviously we're all quite young, like we're able to like implement like our ideas into it. Yeah, I like at the end when everyone has to sort of like stand up and yell a word that's like personal to them. I think for the audience it's quite not shocking, but it's like it's very unexpected, and also our mystery beat where we turn all the lights off. It's just, I like the slight confusion for the audience, but I think it all comes together really well, so I think those parts. I just really like the piece. I think like it's fresh, it's different, and it's nice. Yeah.
I suppose I should add just a massive thank you to the orchestra and to both the conductors and all of their team as well, because there's so many people involved in the running of Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra. It's such a massive organisation, and so much of it is done from a place of volunteering and kindness and support, and it's just such a joyful organisation, and I'm so glad it exists, and I've been really, really fortunate to be able to spend the best part of a year working alongside them on this music, and I'm just very, very thankful for this process and for the outcome, and I hope it really comes across in the music.
Musician.
We want to be heard.
Shadows.
Light. Musician.
That was Fingerprintplurals, a new piece by composer Ben C, performed by Stoneleigh Youth Orchestra, conducted by Robert Hodge. Before that, you heard the sister piece that Ben C wrote for the Stoneleigh Youth Training Orchestra, conducted by Dan Shilladay, titled We Want. Making Music brought composer and orchestras together as part of their Adopt a Composer scheme, and that performance was recorded in Hammersmith Town Hall here in London at a concert given last month. Tune in at the same time tomorrow to hear more new music from the Adopt a Composer scheme. The next one is Esmeralda Conde Ruiz's piece, written for the Fretful Federation Mandolin Orchestra of Brighton. Well, from music for youth orchestra to music for string quartet now, and Johannes Brahms' String Quartet No. 1 in C minor.